فَعَسَى رَبِّي أَنْ يُؤْتِيَانِي خَيْرًا مِنْ جَنَّتِكَ وَيُرْسِلَ عَلَيْهَا حُسْبَانًا مِنْ السَّمَاءِ فَتُصْبِحَ صَعِيدًا زَلْقًا. Surah-Al-Kahfi, Surah 840. Then, Asa, maybe, Rabbi, my Lord, and that Yuktiyani gives me khairan, better, min, than Jannatika, your garden. If we were to stitch together the words to form a translation, it would sound something like this. Then maybe, my Lord, that gives me better than your garden. It sounds odd. So let's stitch together the same words into a free-flowing running translation in the English language. It will be something like this. Then it may well be the case that my Lord gives me something better than your garden. Now it sounds proper English. Now, one point of contention you could say is that why is the word garden used in singular? Throughout in the story, we have heard that the rich man had two gardens, right? This is because the two gardens together is being treated as one unit. And there is a curse, which is about to come out from the poor man's mouth. And this curse is because of the hurt which the rich man has hurled upon him. So this is coming out as a reaction. And so he continues, وَيُرْسِلَ, and sends down, alayha, upon it, the it pronoun in reference to Jannah being treated as a singular unit. Husbanan, I mean, if you read the translators or the scholars, they've translated it something like a calamity, a punishment, something like that. But the root word, whether you use hasuba or hasaba or hasiba, it doesn't mean punishment or calamity. It means something like a calculation, a consideration, a reckoning, something like that. So we can't use or substitute derived meanings and fit it to suggest primary meanings of the word. We can't do that. That's not the proper way to render it into a translation, into a translated language. That's not very proper. So we will try to incorporate all the different meanings, but in a sensible way so that the added associated connotations also come about. Min is from as-sama'i, as-samawat, we have translated the dimension. So as-sama is the singular, the dimension. But if we again sort of try to stitch together this part, then it sounds a bit odd. It sounds sense upon it, even if we translate, if we capture all the nuances of the word husbanan, sense upon it a consideration of calculated punishment by way of reckoning from the dimension, it still sounds odd. Now, before we give the full translation of this part, I'd like you to understand or remember this point or consider this point or give a careful thought to this point. That the word dimension, when it relates to the extra dimensions which we are not very, which our faculties don't have the full power to grasp, sort of. So that is, what is it basically? It is there, but it's a result of the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So his command, and it's sort of a hidden reality which we don't fully understand, comprehend. So if you translate a sama as heaven or sky, then it's not really correct. So dimension sounds odd. So how would you translate it? If you say atmosphere, sort of it makes sense because there is an element of rain which comes down upon the farmland and the gardens of the rich man. So atmosphere is okay, but the atmospheric dimension is sort of what captures the full connotation of the meaning of this part. So, and sense upon it and sense upon it a consideration of calculated punishment by way of reckoning from the hidden reality of the atmospheric dimension by his command. This is the full text of what is required to capture what is represented by just 4 or 5 words in the Arabic language. But yursila alayha husbanan min as-samai. Right? We need a full sentence, a long sentence to represent this part. And then it says fa, which is so. In this case, it is so because it's no more a timeline relationship. The previous one was timeline relation. Remember in the previous sentence how it ended? it had an if statement, so we were expecting the then statement. The then statement starts from here. The second occurrence of the word fa is so. It's a causal relationship, cause effect. So if this happens, if this curse happens, then so as a result of it, what would happen next? For tusbiha. Now, tusbiha, the translators or the scholars have translated something like to become. It becomes something something. The entire farmland and the gardens become something something. That's okay, but we've heard the word subh, right? Morning, dawn. So to become is also correct. Subh is also derived, which is also correct. And the best way to deal with this part is to incorporate both the elements of what the root word represents, so that before the next dawn it becomes. Sa'idan is soil and Zalkan is slippery, so that before the next dawn it becomes slippery soil. What is it saying? What does slippery soil even mean? So slippery soil in this case is sort of a tract of wasteland akin to a quicksand. So you not only, so if quicksand means what? It's not only useless, but it also destroys you. If you happen to stand in quicksand without realizing, then you're dragged into it, and there's no way of escape unless you take very quick remedial action and quick think, and you know what's happening with you. Before you realize, you are sucked into the earth and there's no escape from that. So not only that, the soil becomes bad, infertile, but also it becomes a wasteland, a tract of wasteland akin to a quicksand. So this entire connotation is there, and if we read this translation now with all these nuances at the back of our mind, then it begins to make so much more sense to us. The fact that the dimension is a result of his command, so that element and the other elements, multiple interpretations, not interpretations really, the meanings of the word husban and the multiple meanings of the word tusbiha, all these make it a beautiful, beautiful representation in the Arabic language, rhetorics, balagha, and we have to use a choice of words, multiple words to capture what's going on in this Arabic language. So let's read it once more. Fa'asa rabbi an yu'tiyani. So yu'tiyani, I think I've explained already, is a shortened form. So there's this eagerness, there's sadness and there's eagerness in the sense that he wants to hasten that curse and the punishment. And eventually that will happen. That will be described in the next verse. That is why it is so shortened. So there's a hastening. So it's a dua, but it's a curse basically. فَعَسَى رَبِّي أَن يُؤْتِيَنِي خَيْرًا مِّن جَنَّتِكَ وَيُرْسِلَ عَلَيْهَا حُسْبَانًا مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ فَتُصْبِحَ صَعِيدًا زَلْقًا. Then it may well be the case that my Lord gives me something better than your garden and sends upon it a consideration of calculated punishment by way of reckoning from the hidden reality of the atmospheric dimension by his command, so that before the next dawn it becomes slippery soil. That is a tract of wasteland akin to a quicksand.